Good morning.
Good morning.
It's kind of strange being over on this side of the chancel, but we're all here. We're good. We're good. I'm still Reverend Dina McFeeters, always honored to serve as your associate minister. The opening words are called "Even in the Broken Places, There Is Room for Love" by Becky Brooks. Mother's Day is complicated, joyful for many, yes, but complicated. It's right there on the calendar, even if your mother has died. Even if you've been told yet again that you're still not pregnant, or if you've never been more scared than you are right now because you are pregnant, it's Mother's Day. Even if your own mother's priorities included everything but you, there's going to be a Mother's Day Google Doodle with flowers and pink stuff. Even if you have scars, ones you can see or ones you can't, it's Mother's Day. That cake mix commercial is going to roll out 4 times an hour, even when you can't stop shaking and crying because you can't believe you lost your temper and slapped your child today. It's Mother's Day, and we all have to live with that in those silent, breathless moments. Because even when the baby dies, it's Mother's Day. And so, let's go to church. Let's be a church where we can acknowledge how difficult it is to have this day, right alongside how joyful this day can be. Let's be a church where we don't pretend that there aren't inky depths of space between us, even when we sing. Let's be a church that fills the space between us, between our differences. Let's be a church that fills that space with love, for we can be that church. Will you rise in body or spirit and join in singing hymn 1010 in the Teal hymnal, "We Give Thanks," and we'll sing it about 3 times through, right, Alyssa? All right. Unitarian Universalism, we believe that every child born is a blessing. Each child comes into the world like a flower in bud, beautiful at that stage of their life and with the potential to grow. This cannot happen alone. Like a flower, each child needs loving nurture, fresh air, rich soil, clean rain, sunny days, and restful nights. In our child dedication ceremonies, we commit ourselves to their lives by making promises to one another. So will the parents dedicating their children please come up to the chancel at this time and stand behind the small table.
These children's first teachers of truth and examples of love are their parents. Parents, in bringing your children to be dedicated today, will you affirm that your child is a blessing, entrusted to your care, and that you intend to continue to do all you can to provide your child with roots so that they may feel safe, and wings so that they may fly? Will you strive to share with your children a reverence for life's beauty, truth, and goodness? If so, please say, we will.
We will.
Will the extended family of these children please rise in body or spirit? You are the next circle of support for these children and their parents. In coming here to be part of their dedication today, will you affirm that you will continue to support them in this adventure of life, hold them in love and compassion, and be additional sources of learning and love for them as they grow? If so, please say, we will.
We will.
Thank you. You may be seated.
Children cannot grow fully into their unique potential alone or with only the devotion of their parents and their family. Children need a community to grow, so we have some promises to ask of this community. To the children and to the youth, will you, of those in our congregation, stand right now in body and in spirit? Children and youth. Don't worry, we're going to give the adults a chance too. Children at heart they were, indeed. Thank you. Will you promise to befriend these children and welcome them into our community? If so, please say, we will.
We will.
Thank you. To the adults, will you now join them and rise in body and spirit? Will the adult members and friends of our church, will you welcome these families into our community, be with them in both times of gladness and in struggle? Will you promise to delight in these children's accomplishments, share in their sorrows, and encourage them as they grow into adulthood? If so, please say, we will.
We will.
You may be seated.
Susie and Kevin, what are the full names you have given these children?
John Dominic Lade and Natalie Jane Lade.
John Dominic Lade and Natalie Jane Lade, we welcome you among us. We are going to bless you with some elements. The first one is the element of earth. We share with you, see this soil from our church garden? We share with you the blessing of earth, which gives life its shape. Are you ready? Okay, there's just a little bit. Don't eat it. Kimberly is next.
We now will share with you the blessing of air, which gives life its breath. Are you ready? You ready, Natalie?
Look over there. Look over there.
Can you feel it? Good job.
We share with you the blessing of water. Why don't you show me the back of your hand there? We share with you the blessing of water, which is the flow of emotion in life. There you go.
Next, we share with you the blessing of fire, which gives you a spark of creation. So I'm going to take the flame and I'm going to put it right over your head. Are you ready? The blessing of fire. The blessing of fire.
Here is a rose, which is unfolding in beauty, just as your lives are unfolding in beauty.
And finally, we have a certificate for you each. John, that's yours, saying that you were dedicated today here at First Church. Natalie, that's yours.
May we be worthy guardians of these young lives. May we build a community in which they will grow old, surrounded by beauty, and embraced by love. Let's give this family a round of applause. Thank you. Please rise and body your spirit to sing the lullaby, Sleep My Child. It's hymn number 409 in the gray hymnal. I think there's still little Kleenex packs in the pew racks if you need them. I do. As we are about to enter a time of spoken meditation, followed by shared silence, followed by the seated singing of Spirit of Life, I just invite you to get comfortable in the pew or the chair, however that works for you. Let yourself Wiggle your body a little bit if you need to. Maybe feel your sits bones underneath you. Bring attention to your breathing. Notice your breath coming in and going out. Let your eyes soften. This meditation is called For All the Mothers by Linda Susan Ulrich. For all the mothers and mother figures, the grandmothers, aunts, and extended family members of all genders who mother. The soon-to-be mothers, the wish they were mothers, the never wanted to be mothers, the it's complicated mothers, the birth mothers, foster mothers, adoptive mothers, stepmothers, the used to be dad mothers, and more than one mom mothers, the single mothers, separated mothers, stay-at-home mothers, unhoused mothers, the grieving mothers, those left who are grieving their mothers, and those whose grief is complex. For all the communities that mother, for all who depend on the great Mother Spirit, you are held. You are beloved.
Good morning. Welcome to the First Unitarian Society of Milwaukee. I'm Nancy Spranzi, and I am pleased to serve as your worship associate. We welcome people of all genders, sexualities, ages, races, ethnicities, histories, and bodies. We welcome your mind, your heart, and your spirit. We welcome all you are carrying with you today and all your heart longs to set down. We welcome all people watching online as we live stream this service. Hello, people online. We especially welcome guests joining us today. If you are a visiting guest, we invite you to fill out a welcome card located in the pew rack in front of you and drop it in the offering plate that will come around in a few minutes. Please join us for a social hour after the service across the hall in the Leanhouse Common Room. Some accessibility notes. You can find hearing assist devices and large print hymnals and orders of service at the back of the sanctuary, as well as worship activity bags for children and anyone who wants them. There is a fragrance-free area in the front right pews, and if you are watching online, you can enable YouTube's closed captioning on your viewing device. I have a couple of announcements. The new artist in the Leanhouse Gallery, Munir Bahaden, will be present after the second service. Please introduce yourself and enjoy his work. There will be just one service next Sunday, May 19th, at 10 o'clock. This will be Religious Education Sunday. There will be a potluck at 11 o'clock and the annual meeting at 12 o'clock. Please see the May Chanticleer or e-announcement for details. I welcome you to share in our First Church worship and purpose by inviting you to join me in a unison affirmation of our mission, which is printed in your order of service. We gather to nurture the spirit, engage the mind, and inspire action.
So last August, I had the good fortune to hire Caitlin to be our ARI assistant. And she has been a beam of sunshine and kindness and welcome to many of our families throughout our church and probably pretty much wherever she goes in the world. And so we have been so grateful for your care for us. And today we release her to go on her next adventure with deep gratitude and a lot of love and a small gift that I left over here. You will be so missed, so missed.
Oh.
Have a wonderful time.
Oh, we will. Thank you so much. I have some things that I'd like to say. That in working this year, Alex and I have not only found a spiritual home here, but we've also found such an amazing community of people who really made each Sunday a special part of our week. The connections that we've made with the families and friends here at First Church have truly transformed our hearts and minds, and we are so grateful for all that this community has done for us. It has been a privilege getting to work with the staff of First Church to support our mission each Sunday, and I hope all the best to this community as we depart to Texas. While it's been hard having to leave First Church, I feel so blessed that we have so many people supporting us and sending us well wishes on our journey. And I promise that this isn't goodbye forever and that Alex and I are going to come back and visit really soon.
You better.
Every week we have an opportunity to practice our values through sharing our resources. Our pledges are at the core of our spiritual practice of generosity. In addition, the church shares half of all the non-pledged cash in our offering plate with a community organization, practicing our value of interdependence. Today we share the plate with World Central Kitchen. World Central Kitchen provides meals in response to humanitarian, climate, and community crises. May the practice of giving bring us joy. The offering will now be gratefully received as seated we together sing our children's recessional hymn, 188, Come, Come, Whoever You Are. I invite all children, youth, and religious education volunteers to sing the first verse of the hymn, and then follow Reverend Kimberly to the Leanhouse Common Room, and then downstairs for religious education. If your child needs to check in for RE, please accompany them to the Common Room now. And please join us in singing Come, Come, Whoever You Are, number 188. We needed a babysitter. We had young children, and we both were active in many activities. Our local library trained and listed young people interested in babysitting. We chose a high school student who I will call Beverly because she was 16 and lived just a couple of blocks away from our house. She turned out to be a very responsible and reliable babysitter, and we hired her quite often. During her senior year in high school, Beverly got pregnant. Her parents were older than my parents, and she determined that they would not be very accepting or supportive of her pregnancy. She talked to her priest, and either on her own or with the counsel of the priest, decided to continue her pregnancy and give the baby up for adoption. She knew she had no resources to support a child, especially without her family's support. She told us about her pregnancy and her decision, and told us she was unsure where she was going to live. We decided to offer her a place in our home in exchange for babysitting and housekeeping. Her mother was sympathetic enough to offer her the bedroom set she was using, and we moved her, with some drama from her father, into our house. She finished her senior year of high school as she had planned. The arrangement worked out very well for all of us. We had a babysitter, and Beverly had a place to live and adults who were supportive of her situation. She asked me to go through the childbirth class with her and coach her childbirth, which I did. It was exciting for me to go through this birth because I had never given birth, and we had adopted our children. It was humbling to witness a birth. What a profound experience. I also went with Beverly to visit her baby at the adoption agency and attended the termination of parental rights hearing with her. It was very hard for Beverly to relinquish her baby for adoption, even though she had decided it was the right thing to do. But she never wavered in her determination to provide a good life for her son. Beverly continued to live with us for another 1.5 years as she found a job and saved money to move into an apartment of her own. After the drama of leaving her parents' home, she was fearful of telling us she wanted to move out. But we assured her it was okay and very appropriate for her to do so. We stayed in contact with Beverly and were very happy for her when she told us she was getting married. She and her husband had 4 daughters, and we spent time with the children as they grew. We celebrated the holidays together, and I took the girls to first stage performances and enjoyed being their unofficial grandma. Then one day Beverly called to ask if she could use our house to reunite with her now grown son. I felt honored to be invited to witness such a touching reunion. Beverly and her son were so happy to meet, and I felt happy for them. And it brought us full circle in the adoption process. It helped me understand the difficulty of Beverly's decision to relinquish her baby, as well as her joy in seeing him as a happy young adult. We eventually lost touch with her, much to our regret. I often think of her and wonder how she and her grown children are faring. During our time with Beverly, I learned so much about loving someone who is not your own child. I certainly did not attempt to replace her mother, but I gave Beverly acceptance, supported her decisions, and tried to help her in a time of great stress and grief. And it was clear she appreciated all we did for her. And I received so much from her. To be on the other side of the adoption process was so illuminating for me. She obviously cared very much about her baby before and after his birth, and wanted to provide the best possible future for him. It was wrenching for me to first witness the birth of Beverly's son and then the legal termination of parental rights. What courage it took for her to go to court. Observing the adoption process from the view of a birth mother gave me tremendous admiration for Beverly, as well as the birth mothers of my 2 children. I am grateful for the opportunity to help Beverly and to be a witness to a process I would never have understood so clearly without Beverly being a part of our lives.
Bursting with empathy, I'm feeling everything, the weight of the world on my shoulders. Hope my tears don't freak you out, they're just kinda coming out. It's the music in me and all of the colors. Wish we didn't live so far from each other. I'm just sitting here thinking about the time that's slipping and missing my mother.
While I was going through memorabilia after my mother died years ago, I found a very sweet postcard. Here we go again. Am I allergic to something in this room? Hang on. So yes, I found a very sweet postcard she sent to me while on vacation with my father. The location of their getaway slips my mind. Maybe it was Madeline Island or a canoe trip in the Boundary Waters. It matters not. What matters is the message and the date. She wrote, "Dear Dina, I hope your fever is going down." Or maybe it was, "I hope your cold is getting better." Something like that. The postmark date was 1962. Or maybe it was 1961, because this is a big fish story that gets more dramatic with every telling. I brandished the postcard at my father. "You and Mom went on vacation by yourselves when I was sick and only 2 years old?" Indignation and incredulity in my voice. My dad replied, "That was the best thing we ever did." Apparently, helicopter parenting had not yet been invented. Don't get me wrong, my mother was a delighted and attentive parent. She and my dad had trouble conceiving, waiting with envy while their friends gave birth. My older sister came along when Mom was turning 37. I came along when Mom was almost 40, which I imagine was considered very old for pregnancy back then. The postcard reminds me that personalities, priorities, and choices play a big role in what kind of parents we are or what kind of parents we had or have. Cheryl Strayed wrote in Tiny Beautiful Things, "Every mother has a different story, though we tend to group them together. We like to think that partnered moms have it good and single moms have it rough. But the truth is that we are a diverse bunch. Some single mothers have a lot of child-free time because their kids are in regular custody of their fathers. Some seldom get a break. Some partnered mothers split childcare duties with their spouses in egalitarian ways. Others might as well be alone. Some mothers of both varieties have parents, siblings, and friends who play active roles in their children's lives in ways that significantly lighten the load. Others have to pay for every hour another person looks after their child. Some mothers, single or partnered, can't afford to pay anyone for anything. Some can and do, some can and won't. Some are aided financially by parents or trust funds or inheritances. Others are entirely on their own. The reality is that regardless of the circumstances, most moms are alternately blissed out by their love for their children and utterly overwhelmed by the spectacular amount of sacrifice that they require. I appreciate this quote because I believe that every parent has a story, and most parents do make sacrifices to love their children the best they can. I believe that a spiritual community like ours is a place where we can tell and hold those stories with honesty and care. Let's give ourselves permission to not prop up the myth of saintly motherhood. Let's name the sacrifices made so that we can live with them in healthy awareness. At the same time, let's allow ourselves to feel the deep joy of nurturing others that often gets lost in the shuffle of commitments and the pressure to be perfect parents. My mother was not perfect. I imagine yours was not either. What human being is perfect? No one. Viewing our parents as human is part of the developmental process of growing up. What work do you have left to do in that regard? Is there forgiveness work to be done? Or was the harm you received unforgivable? Either one could be true, and your story will be held here in this community with dignity and respect. It's the stories we tell about our families that help us make meaning of what happened to us. And we can hold a plurality of truths about family. My mother loved me dearly, and I her. Yet, she was often sharply critical, even judgmental. When I was a young adult, my mother told me that if I was a lesbian, that would be something to root out. After my first year of eating dormitory food at college, my mother told me I was obese. I weighed 120 pounds. When I changed my last name to my mother's family name, it was my mom who freaked out, threatening to call the judge who signed the papers, until my father talked her down. Weird stuff happens in families sometimes, right? The weird stuff is influenced by culture, societal expectations, roles that we're expected to play, and what was passed down from earlier generations, including generational trauma. The plurality of family truths can include strained relationships or complete estrangement. The plurality can include exile and return. The plurality can include banishment and redemption as people find their chosen family and thrive within it. The plurality can include family as the safest place on earth and the source of unconditional love and support. It is our choice if and how we make meaning from our past. It's our choice if and how to create a future of nurturing and being nurtured by others that helps create the world we want to live in. My sister and brother-in-law chose to adopt 2 children. I chose not to become a parent. We channel our mothering energy in different ways. Choices to nurture can be complex. Truth-telling, or not, about adoption is part of many parents' and adoptees' lives. Angela Tucker wrote in her 2022 book, "You Should Be Grateful," there are 7 million adoptees in the world. 6 out of every 10 Americans have a personal experience with adoption. Yet centering adoptee voices may be unfamiliar. In November 2014, Tucker wrote, "I participated in the #FlipTheScript social media movement, a movement started by Rosita Gonzalez, a Korean adoptee, with the simple goal of amplifying adoptee voices during National Adoption Awareness Month. The campaign reached 30 million households in 30 days. But we were often shut down by those who demanded that we should just be grateful for being adopted. And it was often said by people who meant well and had the kindest of intentions. Being honest about adoption is a tricky minefield to navigate. Being honest about adoption seems to inevitably hurt someone or to risk being misconstrued. The more folks told Tucker to just be grateful for the family you have, the more she was fueled by the questions adoptees often have about who they are and where they come from. She was inspired to write an adoptee manifesto, which states, "We can love more than one set of parents. Relationships with our birth parents, foster parents, and our adoptive parents are not mutually exclusive. We have the right to own our own original birth certificate. Curiosity about our roots is innate. We need access to our family medical history. The pre-verbal memories that you have with your first family are real. Postnatal culture shock exists. It's okay to feel a mixture of gratitude and loss. We are not alone. We have each other." So far this morning, I've been talking about motherhood and parenting as a choice. But the fact is, there are many barriers to reproductive justice and the freedom to parent: economic, legal, and physical barriers. It's been almost 2 years since the Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade, eliminating the constitutional right to abortion. Depending on which state of the union, the power to choose when to have children or not to have children is limited, and pregnant people's lives are put at risk. Access to reproductive health was already more difficult for Black, Indigenous, people of color, working class and poor people, and those who live in rural areas. I don't have to tell you that 2 years out, it's even worse. We live in a culture where motherhood is politicized, and the stakes are very high. Whatever our feelings about reproductive choice and abortion, Unitarian Universalism unequivocally supports every person's bodily autonomy. The UU Side with Love organization puts it clearly. Our faith affirms that all bodies are sacred and that we are each endowed with the twin gifts of agency and conscience. Each of us should have the power to decide what happens to our bodies at every moment of our lives, because consent and bodily autonomy are holy. Friends, this is our dream, our vision, our theology, our faith statement. Yet we live out our intimately personal lives in a society embedded with prejudice and systemic inequities of power. Parents of color talk with their children about navigating white spaces, including the talk about how to respond when pulled over by the police. LGBTQ parents, whether people of color or not, may also face hostility when raising their children from neighbors, schools, medical professionals, or even their families of origin. Elizabeth Castellana wrote in the foreword to a book called Family Pride, "When you grow up in a world that challenges your family's legitimacy, everything you do as a family takes on deeper meaning." I know people don't want to hear difficult things from the pulpit on Mother's Day Sunday. Sorry. But what I'm trying to do is just name the complexities that we live with every day. The complexities of parenting in a society rife with challenges does not negate the joy. They exist side by side. The complexities simply raise questions, such as how will we use our twin gifts of agency and conscience to make reproductive justice real, and to recognize and combat the myriad ways that racism, homophobia, and transphobia affect parents and families. How will we use our gifts to affirm the pluralism of parenthood? How shall we make Mother's Day meaningful? How shall we make Mother's Day meaningful? I think we can start by reflecting on our personal stories. How were we mothered, and by whom? How do we wish we had been mothered? What can we do so that generational trauma is not passed on? In what manner do we nurture young people now to support their gifts of agency and conscience? How are we making this a community in which all our stories can be told and held with respect and care? When actor Ray Romano from the TV series Everybody Loves Raymond was asked what made his real-life, long-time marriage a success, he replied with a quote from his therapist: "You have to pretend you're not a narcissist. It's not all about you." Similarly, for us to affirm different kinds of mothers and the choice to not be a mother, we have to pretend that we are not narcissists. For us to be loving toward many kinds of parents, we need to admit it's not all about us. Our particular way of being a parent, our unmet expectations of how we wish we had been mothered, it's not the only story. It's an important one, but not the only story. Every mother has a story, and so does every child. The pluralism of parenthood means there's more than one way. To bring mothering energy into the world, we are not limited to biological parenting. The need to give and receive nurture is vast. May we respect the plurality of parenthood and strive to create a community in which all our stories can be told and held with love. May it be so.
You know
The closing words are by Victoria Weinstein. Great Spirit, parent of us all, grant us life-giving ways, strength for birthing, and a nurturing spirit, that we may take attentive care of our world, our communities, and those precious beings entrusted to us by biology, or by destiny, or by friendship, fellowship, or fate. Give us the heart of a mother. May it be so. Will you rise and body your spirit to sing When Our Heart is in a Holy Place, hymn number 1008 in the Teal hymnal.